Social networking really is pervasive throughout the software that we use these days, and that includes SharePoint 2013. But it helps to kind of break it down maybe into two different basic categories of what we can work with, and that would be people and content. We want to start with content. We're not going to go through every possibility because, as I said, it's pervasive. You can do these things in almost every place within SharePoint. But I just want to show you a couple of examples of how these social networking features can work. What I've done is come into a library. Library has some documents in it. And Michael Brooks, who we are currently signed in as, has been looking at one of these documents. Let's say that it's the first one, a document called Building Mechanicals. There are several different things that he can see just by looking at the library itself. First of all, he can see that ratings have been enabled for this library because on the right-hand side, he sees a rating system. This is not always on for all libraries, but if you see this column, you'll know that it is. Ratings are a star system that goes 0 through 5. And if Michael wants to add his rating, all he has to do is click on the star that he wants. So if he thinks this is amazing, he might click on number 5. That's all he has to do. That has just been logged. Now, what these stars actually show, and you can see that it just changed, is not Michael's rating, it's the average of all ratings. Notice how it just went from 1 rating to a total of 2 ratings. Somebody else had given it a rating of 4. Michael just gave it a rating of 5. Therefore, the average, if you look very carefully, is actually 4.5 stars. So over time, as more and more users rate the content, somebody coming into this library will be able to see which content the users themselves think are of more value. Now, one of the reasons I brought you in here first is because I want to take you into basically the same library. It's just set up a little bit differently. So we're going to move over to a different library called Corporate Operations. It's basically the same. I just gave it a different name, and it happens to have a little bit different setting because this one is set up not only to include the ratings, but also to use the like system. The like system is more simple. Ratings are simply 0 through 5, and it creates an average. With likes, you either say, I like something, or I don't like something. If Michael decides that he doesn't like this, he can simply click and change it to unlike. You can see he's given it a frowny face, and we again are getting kind of a tally of how many people have voted. So you may see either one of these things or both working within your SharePoint lists and libraries. But this is the way that ratings work, and it allows people to give their opinion on the value of content. I really like ratings, and I actually use them all the time in my real world life. For example, when I shop online. If there are many products that look very similar, I will probably look at ratings to say, what do the real people think? I don't necessarily want to know what the manufacturer's opinion is because, of course, they love their product. The opinion of real people usually matters a little bit more. But what if we want to do just a little bit more than get a rating? What if we need to have a way to classify information? Sure, we have a lot of ways we can do that within a library. We can use metadata, we can sort and filter by different fields that may be available. But what if that isn't quite what I need for my work? Well, that's when we might want to use something that's similar to keywords, but keywords are actually a field, and tagging is part of social media. So in order to work with this, we're going to first select a document, and we'll just select the very first one that we've been working with. And then we need to make sure that we have the Library tab exposed, and you should see an option called Tags and Notes. What we can see for this library is that it needs to be organized, and somebody has already started to do that. Somebody thinks that operations is a good word to use. If Michael had an idea on what he thought would also be a good word, he could add his own terms. Since this is about building operations, maybe he wants to add the word building. But maybe there's another word that they use in this company, and maybe they call the facility they work at facility, and maybe the word campus. So Michael thinks that these are 3 different ways that people might want to look up, or that he might want to look up or organize this information. So he can simply type them in, separated by commas or semicolons. If you use a comma, SharePoint will convert it to a semicolon for you. Now, you do have the opportunity to keep these tags as private. In other words, only you can see your own tags. That's okay if you want to do that. You simply check the box. But if you want to keep them public, make them available to everybody else, and help build out that folksonomy we've been talking about, then you leave the box unchecked. Then you'll simply click or tap Save on the bottom right. That's a done deal. Let's take a look, though, at the bottom of this box. because the bottom of this box also talks about recent activities. So not only can somebody come in and say, what does this document itself look like, but we can see what other people have done. Michael can now see that Aaron wrote, great start on getting these, and then it kind of cuts off. But you can open that up and you can take a look at it, and it also gives you the date. Aaron also tagged it. We can see that she's the one that tagged it as operations. And then Eric wrote something as well. If we want to see some of these different things that we can't see right now because they're cut off, we simply need to go to the second part of this dialog box. That's called the note board. So tagging is something that we do to help classify or organize content. We can use existing tags, or we can create our own. And we can also keep our own tags private, not share them with anybody else. The note board is a method to do just that, to leave a note board that anybody who wants to leave comments can. This is where we can scroll more easily through and see all of the content of other people's comments. So what Aaron actually said on 9/6 at 8:57 a.m. was, great start on getting these critical docs in a single, easy-to-find location. We need to have a process in place to ensure that they are consistently formatted and reviewed. Send specific requests to Michael. Then we can see Eric's down below as well. If you want to add your own note, you simply click and type. This is a very simple window, but you can see that it gives us an opportunity to organize and classify, as well as leave messages without having to do so kind of the old-fashioned way, which is often by leaving comments or notes within Word documents. That is still available, by the way, because that's a Word feature. But all of what we're doing here is not only going to be kept within SharePoint, it doesn't mess up the document, and one of the more critical parts, and how we're going to finish this up, is to remember we don't need to go to every individual list and library and element to see all of this social work. All we have to do is go back to our own My Site newsfeed. So I happen to have that already open for Michael, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that tab at the top. Here's Michael's newsfeed. Not only can he start conversations and post status updates, he can see who he's following, and this is his newsfeed or his activity feed. This is really the culmination of everything that's going on. He can see that Eric made a comment that said to check out Michael Brooks. This is called a mention, and that's why it's showing up here. Anytime Michael's name is used in this way, Michael will be notified. That's kind of nice. He can see that Aaron liked something. So if Aaron is his supervisor, or if Aaron is somebody that he thinks kind of knows a lot and he would like to find out what she knows, then he can also follow these documents. He can also see that Aaron rated something and whether she rated it good or bad, and if he then wants to take a look at that as well. So all of this information comes in and is consolidated in Michael's newsfeed, as well as the activities that he may be doing. Don't forget that on the right-hand side, there's also a summary. How many people he's following, how many documents he's following, how many sites he's following, and even information about tagging and trending tags. Whenever Michael works with a document and he tags it, or he likes it, or he follows it, it gets added to this summary so that he can then come in, and if he's ever interested, click on any one of these numbers and see the people, documents, sites, and tags that are relevant to him and his work. What you now know is that SharePoint can hold a lot of content. You actually probably knew that before. But what you now know is that you have some additional tools to help you manage and keep track of all that content. Following something lets notifications be sent to your newsfeed, and you can follow people, sites, content, a variety of things. Just look for the ability to click on something that says follow. Ratings help identify what others think is valuable, and that can be through a star system, 0 through 5, or with likes. Tags help build personal classifications of content, and they also help build organizational folksonomy, build the searchability of SharePoint as a whole for the organization. One thing I did want to mention is whenever you're creating a tag, it's best to keep them without any spaces. And also, if you want to include a tag when you're working on something like a blog post or a wiki page, just start it with the hashtag symbol first. We now also know that we can keep detailed notes without kind of messing up regular documents using the comments feature that we're used to using. Detailed notes can be left to comment or to provide feedback or add information to content, and that's done through the note board. All of these activities are automatically logged to your newsfeed. And the good news is, all you have to do is work. Anyone who's following you, or the content will automatically be notified of your activities and kept up to speed on what's been updated, commented, rated, or whatever other work you're doing with social networking tools.